Stephen Smith. I'm the CTO for Meenta, and my background is I'm a software developer and a geologist. The website is meenta.io, and we provide a platform for sharing science equipment. So the first version of our product came out of a set of interviews with core lab directors across Boston and New England. And we tried to build an app that was using a bunch of technologies that are super lightweight to implement, easy to change, and nimble, so that if we had an issue, we didn't overspend on a feature. And we were able to build a stack that was that used, kind of the more cutting-edge technologies for showing UIs. So we use front-end single-page web apps. So we use Firebase as our back-end database. It provides our authentication, hosting, support, security, and everything else. We chose that because it's fast, cheap, and easy. We can implement almost everything we want to do on that. Well, our business model is based on harnessing or tapping into unused capacity on very expensive pieces of science equipment. So if you spend $1 million on something, it's only used 30% of the time. That 70% is kind of lost productivity. And so our business model is finding ways to create a marketplace that allows people who own the equipment to tap into that capital expenditure, and the people who don't want to buy the equipment to get access to it.
So the problem we're trying to solve is that right now in the world of science, there's millions of scientists in the world with hundreds of billions of dollars of capital equipment utilized in science. It's very difficult to find, and then when you find it, to actually get time on those instruments. So we're making it searchable and accessible. Yeah, so the way we look at value proposition is right now science is very difficult. It's very difficult to get a PhD, to get a postdoc, the fellowship, all that stuff. So we're trying to make science a little bit easier for the person in science. We're trying to make accessing the tools they need easier. So the value is a frictionless process for accessing any cutting-edge technology from the scientist's perspective, and from the instrument owner's perspective, the ability to leverage all that capital equipment efficiently. So the way we deliver the product or make it aware to our user base is academic and commercial institutions in the world that house these instruments. We pretty much know where those are. And we're using a mix of sort of guerrilla tactics and inbound marketing methods to reach out to them. And in terms of the user scientists, it's a problem to reach scientists because they don't really conglomerate in any specific place. They're really hard to reach. They're on Twitter or Facebook, but there isn't like an easy way to reach them. So what we're doing right now is contacting them institution by institution, again using inbound marketing. Yeah, so the way we understand the customer is we really follow the lean canvas. So we developed the lean canvas that you might be familiar with. We also follow the customer development process to the first couple phases of customer development. And we interview dozens, if not hundreds, of either instrument owners or scientists to understand this sort of product market fit.
What I have found is that what we think about our customers and what our customers really do and say are very different. So Gabor and I started out by listing our top 3 assumptions in the persona of what we thought the customer would value, and then we went and met with customer after customer after customer, and what we learned was all our assumptions were 100% out of priority. And so what we've found is our customers, the more often, we can talk about this today, the more often we get out from behind doing work on a computer or on a phone and email and actually talk to the customer, the more likely we are to get a good fit. And there are no business plans that come out of instinct. It doesn't exist, and experience doesn't really help. You have to talk to the customer almost on a daily basis. So we started with a bare bones assumption in the business model. Then we met with a bunch of customers, we refined our business model. We met with more customers, and we refined our business model. But we are open to the idea that our business model in 6 months might be radically different than what we think it is today. So the business model really just is a servant to reflect what we've learned. And so that cycle needs to kind of follow.
Sure.
I think to answer the question about how you respond to new information is that there is nothing set in stone. Your business model, your value proposition, your understanding your customers, if you sit down and hold one as fixed and the other, you literally have to be willing to tear it down in a heartbeat and rebuild it. One of the better ways to do it is to think about your competition. There's someone else coming up behind you haven't seen, and you may need to be exceedingly responsive to. I think the idea that your competition should be the person driving your business model and how you view it is important, because you're going to be more responsive to changing those things faster. I think if you start with an assumption and decide you want to go to market with it, you're probably going to die on the vine. If you start with an idea and then you go talk to customers, you might find a product fit in the exact opposite place you started out looking. And if that's what you want to do, that's great. But if you really want to take one idea and research and apply it and make a business product out of it, the chances of that translating in any real, visible, clear way are very small. But if you start with the assumption that there's a problem here, and my research addresses it, and now I want to take that and go out the opposite side of the world that you thought you were going to start from.
So assumptions are always fallible, and so we keep the why of the company constant. The why is making science easier, but how you actually go out to the market or what you do with that, like a scientist translating basic research into a development project, into a product, the who and the what and the how can change, but the why never. Yeah, so my view on company building is that, scientists and most people think that the company is about the product, but there's really 5 things. You have a legal component to set up the framework of the company, right? You have to have a good team, whether that's business or SAB. You have to build a channel. You have to know how to get this stuff out there, right? And then you have to be able to sell it into the marketplace. And often we get stuck on the product. The product is not the company.
No, it's the vision.